During the summer of 2023, I experienced one of the scariest moments of my life.
I'm recording just to be safe.
But before I can talk about that, we have to start with this.
So the plan right now is I'm gonna go make a calendar for around the next 2 months and write down everything I have to do, which is kind of a lot. But first, come with me to make a coffee.
Actually forgot I have caramel too, so I'm gonna add a little bit of this.
Okay, so I'm gonna head downstairs and then we can finally start making a calendar. Hey guys, so as you can probably tell, I am filming on a different day now because it's a different shirt and also because I have a Celsius instead of a coffee. The reason that it's a different day is because I literally got no time to film like the other day. I'm less busy, and so let's go make a calendar. But first, I need some supplies. Hey, so, funny story, exactly the second I start to film anything, it actually decides to pour rain outside, so I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the sound of thunder. This is the only day I actually can film, and so I'm so sorry if you hear the thunder, but we're just gonna have to deal with it, okay? But anyways, I think I have all of the supplies I need. That's just the boat we're in. I feel like this always happens. This always happens. Every single time, I want to film or do anything productive, I swear, there's always, something in my way. I'm not trying to be dramatic right now, but this is, literally, this is what life has been feeling like. I don't, okay, so it's been a little bit of time, and I'm gonna go try and, record again, hopefully, because the rain's kind of slowed up a little bit. So right now I think the goal is I'm gonna get all of my important dates and stuff onto the May calendar, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, so here is the final calendar. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, here is the final calendar. And so I'm gonna go hang this up really quick, but looking at it just at a glance, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on, a couple good uploads I'm really excited about. And so I can't wait to share this stuff with you guys. And so I'm gonna go hang this up like I said really quick. And then it's probably time to address the obvious thing that you've most likely been wondering the entire video by the title.
But to fully immerse you in the story, we have to start here, in my room. Most of my summer was spent here, planning and working on projects which inevitably put me in the situation.
Don't say I have to go. Hold me softly.
My channel recently, or followed my channel for the past couple years, then you would know that during this last summer I kind of took a pretty big gap. I didn't really post anything for 5 months, and the biggest reason for that is because I decided to do this project that was kind of ambitious. I think ambitious is the word I'd call it, but this project that's pretty ambitious, and what it was is I was going to create a short film for the Austin Film Festival. But after spending about 2 weeks on the script, I only had a month to produce, film, and edit a short film with high school students. And once I say it out loud, it sounded ridiculous, but nevertheless, I decided to do it anyway, and it failed miserably, but it's okay. It's all about the learning process. We're here now. But anyways, after doing that project and it not turning out how I wanted to, I kind of just needed a fresh start, and my grandparents were actually going to Colorado, And so I asked them if I could just join them on their little road trip. On our way to Colorado, I was trying to think of like some things we could do along the way, just so it wasn't like drive to go get peaches and then drive like right back, you know, because sometimes that gets just boring. And so I was thinking of some destinations that were basically like along the way. Something that came up in the car was the Rocky Mountain National Park. I've actually never been there before. And so what we did is we decided to stay in Estes Park, which is like kind of the base of the Rocky Mountains, like it's kind of the park entrance, or the main one at least. And so we decided to stay in Estes Park and then the next day drive up into the Rocky Mountains. And so all things considered, we left around 3 p.m. to go hang out in the Rocky Mountains. And so the thing was, we were only going to be in the Rocky Mountains for that day. And so I wanted to make sure that what we did, like we'd get like all of the use out of it and that we would have the most fun for the short amount of time. And so we left at 3 p.m. thinking, oh, hey, we'll have 7 hours to hike with daylight still. But we got to the entrance of the Rocky Mountain National Park, and I found this place called Emerald Lake, and it happened to be right where we were. Anyways, so the trail was in the general area, maybe 20 miles from the entrance, or it was really close. It was not far at all. So we decided to go there, and we got to the entrance of this trail, the road that goes down to the parking lot for the trail, and you couldn't get in until after 6 unless you had a permit. And we were not aware of this because we had just looked it up that day. And so we were not aware that you have to buy a permit to get in, and you couldn't really buy a permit. You had to reserve it. And so you couldn't get into the park unless you waited until after 6, or there was a certain time in the earlier morning that you could be there, but obviously it was 3 p.m. or it was 4 p.m. at this point. So we decided just to wait and go do some stuff. I don't remember what we did, but we did some stuff and we waited until 6 p.m. to get into the park. And so we got into the park at 6 p.m. thinking we were going to do a really short, quick hike up to this lake and then back down, and then we'll just leave and call it a day. So this lake was a trail with, I think, 5 or 6 lakes on it. And so the lake I wanted to go to was right at the midpoint of the mountain. And so it was right between the top and the bottom. And so there was a lake at the bottom that was really pretty too. And like I said, the lake I wanted to go to was about an hour hike up. And so I was oh, that's not bad at all. Or an hour hike uphill. So I was oh, that's not really bad at all. I'll go do that. But it was a pretty steep trail, so my grandparents decided not to go with me. And so I hiked up to the lake. It was beautiful. It was breathtaking. It was everything I was hoping it would be. And so I was taking my pictures. I was doing my thing. But I was stopped by this family. This family was there. And they were hey, we're photographers too. And obviously this lake is really pretty. But if you want to see an even better lake, you should go up to... I can't remember. It was Hamaya or something. It was some sort of lake called that. I don't really remember the name. But they're you should go up to so-and-so lake at the top of the mountain. And I was okay, I might do that. And so my first red flag should have been that my phone's cell service was basically non-existent. And so I tried to text my grandparents saying I was going to be gone for a little bit longer, or just ask them if that was okay. And I thought it had sent, but it didn't. While I thought I was waiting for a response from them, I was oh, I'll just start hiking, because I was pretty confident they would say yes, because it was only another hour up, and I hadn't really thought about it too much, and I was oh, they'll probably say yes. I think they're having fun down there. So anyways, I decided to start hiking. And I had kind of forgotten that I had texted them asking for permission to go up there. And so I was hiking, and at this I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back at it, I had realized that text never sent. And so I was hiking, and I got to the top. And another red flag that should have kind of been at the top of my mind is that I was the only hiker that was alone, and I was the only hiker without sleeping gear. And so what I mean by this is, when I was hiking, all of these other people that were hiking, and there wasn't that many anyway, but all of the other people that were hiking on that trail either A, were with 5 people, or they had I was the only one alone. No matter who they were all with someone. I was the only one alone, and I was the only one without sleeping gear. You could tell all of them had legit hiking gear. Myself and I had a water bottle, and I also had all my camera equipment hiking up this trail, which was I think it was 6 miles total, 3 up, 3 down. Anyways, that's not really important. So I had gotten up to the top of the mountain. I was drinking my water, chilling, And so the trail had split into two. It had forked. And so I wasn't sure which way to go because the sign was kind of unclear. And one of the trails had kind of looked worn out and like non-used anymore, but the thing was it was flat. Like it was a nice trail still, and the reason I chose that trail to go on was because the other one was like filled with these massive boulders. I'll show you if I have a clip of it, I'll show you. But it was filled with these massive boulders. And so I was using my logic and I was like, well, I'm going to assume it's just the more worn out trail because the other one, you can't even really see the trail because there's huge rocks in the way. And so I decided to take my way on the little trail. And of course, it was like not perfect. I had to duck under some trees and stuff, but I was going through it and the trail had kind of started to like not exist anymore. And I looked up and in the near distance, I saw a bear. I am 100% confident I saw a bear. And I said, absolutely not. I turned myself around and I walked very calmly back to the entrance of the trail, like the fork. And so I got back there and I was kind of trying to like figure out if I wanted just to walk back down because I had made it so far and, I wanted to see the lake, but at this point I was really freaked out. And so I was like, do I even try the trail that goes over the boulders or do I just like not go to the lake at all and just go back down? And so I kind of started to walk my way like back down the mountain and this family was there and it was like 5 people and they all had gear. Another red flag. And I asked them, I was like, hey, are you going up to so-and-so lake? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you know how to get there? Because I saw like 2 trails and one of them had like boulders and I was like, surely that can't be it. And they were like, yeah, actually, if you just go over the boulders, the lake's right there. And I said, okay. And so I made my way over the boulders. It wasn't like bad at all. They were just like pretty big. And so it took like a little bit of time. I made my way over the boulders. And when I tell you this lake was drop dead gorgeous, this had to have been the most gorgeous lake I had ever seen. My camera at the time did not do it justice because, I didn't have all my equipment and stuff. Like, no matter what, I don't think a camera will ever do that lake justice. It was absolutely gorgeous. So I stayed for about 30 minutes at the lake. All of these other, like, not all of these other families, like, there's like 5 other groups of people there. And they all had equipment or they were with, like, families and stuff. And so they were all just, like, chilling up there. Also, another thing I should mention is that there was a campsite that you could stay at kind of at the top of the lake. And most of these people said they were going over to that campsite. Like, I talked to them and just being like, hey, so, like, how are you? Because I'm a pretty outgoing person. And so I was just, like, making small talk because I was alone. And so at the top of this lake for about 30 minutes, I was just talking to people. I was like, hey, how are you? Like, where are you headed? And they're like, oh, we're going to stay at this, like, campsite over here. Like, pretty, like, close. It was like maybe 20 minutes from like the lake. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so at this point at the top of the lake, I had kind of saw some yellow in the sky. I had kind of seen that the sun was setting. I didn't really process how long I'd been up there for. And so I was watching the sunset and I had kind of realized that it had taken me like 2.5 hours to get to the top of this trail. And it had taken me this long. How long is it going to take me to get back down to this trail? I was freaking out, to say the least. I was kind of about to have a panic attack because I realized that it was maybe 10 minutes away from the sun being fully set. And I had to hike about an hour and a half in the darkness. And just to confirm, like, how long it would actually take me to get back down the mountain, I frantically asked someone, I was like, hey, so do you by chance, like, know how long it would take to get down this mountain, like if I hurried? And he said, oh, if you really put in some effort and hurry, it'll take you roughly an hour. That should have been my red flag number, I don't even know at this point, 4. And so I was like, great, thank you. I packed up all of my equipment, and when I tell you I sprinted on this trail, I sprinted so fast down this trail. Not, like, sprinted in the fact that, like, I was genuinely, like, sprinting, but I was running quite literally as fast as I could, all things considered. And this trail, like I said, it was pretty steep. It was not, like, a paved trail. It was nothing like that. It was, like, on the side of a cliff, genuinely. Like, if I fell off the side of the cliff, I would be dead. It's in the dark, and I'll show you proof of, like, the side of the cliff. Like, it was a drop. I would either break something, I would be in critical condition, or I'd be dead. I could trip and easily fall off the side of the edge. I could be eaten by a bear. There were so many factors that could happen. And so, obviously, none of that happened because I'm here today. I didn't die. But I was kind of freaking out. And so, I went to text my grandparents. And that's when I kind of realized that my first initial text didn't send. And also, it had dawned on me that my phone was at 1% and I literally couldn't text them. And so, I didn't know either of their numbers either, just to like use someone else's phone if they had cell service. And so I now was freaking out that they were either thinking I was still up there, like having to spend the night on the mountain, or that I was like hurt or something, because I didn't tell them I was going up to the top of the mountain. And so I told them it'd only take an hour. Like I said, I was kind of running. I was trying to get down this mountain as quickly as possible. It had gotten really dark at this point, to the point where like the light, like my aperture on my camera was like better than my eyesight. Like I could see better through my camera. And so I remember as I was walking down this mountain, or like jogging basically, as I was jogging down this mountain, I was literally looking through my camera to be able to see where I was going, because that's how pitch black it was. And I know a lot of times you hear these like myths or tales or stuff of people saying that when you're in a forest, if it goes dead quiet, that usually means there's like an animal or something. And when I tell you that is so true, it is actually freaky. I was walking in this forest, and I kid you not, you could hear a branch snap from a mile away. It was actually insane. I couldn't see. There were animals. I literally saw a bear earlier on this trail, and all like I'm pretty, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're more active at night and stuff like that. And so all of this happened, and it went dead silent. Like I remember on my camera being like, hey, so if I either break my leg and like have to stay up here all night and something goes horribly wrong, or if I get injured and I get literally eaten by an animal, or if any of this happens, like, I love you guys. Like, I'm sorry that I'm stupid enough to go travel to the top of this mountain. Anyways, so I was like freaking out. And so I was walking, and I remember finally making it to the base of the mountain at around 10 p.m. at night. So I had finally made it to the base of this mountain, and my grandparents like were freaking out. They had come and got me, and they were kind of giving me the silent treatment on the way back, because they were, basically thinking, what were you thinking? And so I eventually made it back to the hotel. I hadn't eaten anything for 6 hours at this point. I was currently freaking out, and so I got back to the hotel, and I was fine eventually. But yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's like you're not gonna ever forget that. It was just scary. And being alone, walking down there, cause I kid you not, the closest person was a mile away. And I know if I hurt myself, or if I had fallen, or if I had twisted an ankle or broken a leg, I would have been fine eventually. It would have I would have just had to spend the night on the mountain alone, which is still freaky, and just hopefully not have gotten eaten by a bear. Anyways, so I knew I would have been fine, but it's just the thought that something could have happened is just so freaky, and that something did happen, being out there at night was pretty scary. And there were signs saying that you have to not hike at night, and that if you're going to spend the night, you have to be in the designated areas, because there were signs saying that this is a very bear active place, and the Rocky National Park is pretty well known for being a pretty heavily a national park with a lot of bears, is what I'm trying to say. It's pretty heavily known for that. And so I had seen one too, and I was freaking out. And so I'm just glad nothing bad had happened to me, or I'm just glad that what could have gone a lot worse didn't go a lot worse. And so anyways, that's kind of the whole story. I'm okay now. If I ever can get my grandparents to talk about it a little bit, I will. But that's just kind of the story. So anyways, I don't really know how to end this, because I don't know how to end one of these. I don't really do story times. But anyways, I guess that's kind of all I can say. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. So I don't like doing outros. I'm just gonna... Ooh, camera covered.